sec. You said find one maxim that's transcendent across situations.
I didn't say any of those words. I'm not sure what conversation you're a part of.
Don't be a smartass.
I'm sorry.
Seriously, I mean it. If we're going to have a serious conversation, conduct yourself properly.
Okay.
Okay. Rephrase your question so that, because I must have missed it. I tried to answer it.
So in my mind, I guess by my lights, a perfect being doesn't change. A perfect being, if they're maximally good, maximally moral.
Does our understanding of the perfect being change?
Our understanding might, but presumably what the perfect being is revealing.
Well, I agree. How do we distinguish between that, though, at the human level?
How do we distinguish between whether...
Between our transforming understanding of perfection and perfection itself.
Between our...
We can only... Yeah, well, we can only
I would have
see through
raised
our
the
own
flag
lens.
too. How funny. I would have also raised the flag from what this Ian guy just said. That is really interesting. I guess very rare moment you're going to hear this from me. These atheists and I are on the same page, okay? You're not going to hear that often. So you know, you can clip that.
Yeah, this conversation isn't going anywhere.
Yeah. So here's the thing about perfect being theology and perfect being understanding. This guy just said that something about God would change in terms of his like essential character. But this is actually not about the essential character of God, but about certain commands and permissions in the Old Testament for humans, right? Number one. So just on the first level of this, number one, this is about the allowances and permissions that God would allow for his people at his time. And so this guy said, well, wouldn't he just give you the whole rundown right then and there? Well, no, because I wouldn't give a 5-year-old calculus. Like, I'm sorry, but a perfect math teacher would actually not give a 5-year-old calculus. What would you give a 5-year-old that you're trying to teach mathematics? Even if you're a perfect math teacher, even if you are the perfect math teacher, would you give a 5-year-old calculus off the bat in one lesson? No. Like, that's insane. I'm sorry, but this is just not logical. The way this Ian guy is arguing is just not logical. Just because something is perfect doesn't mean they would inundate you with the maximum outflow of all possible knowledge about a certain topic. As a matter of fact, I can tell you that if you do that for a student, they will quickly tune out like 90% of what you said, because either it's over their head or it's too much at once. It's just too much. And so number one, right, I think he is assuming that these commands mean there's been an essential change in the character of God, when God can manifest all of his perfect attributes in many different ways. Right? It's not a change in God's character. It could be a change in God's expression of judgment based off where these people are at. And number two, yes, a perfect being, as I was saying before, could give commands, piece by piece by piece. A perfect teacher would. As a matter of fact, the New Testament also describes, the law as like a type of, teacher, or this type of, thing that allows us to grow and mature. And so God, if he was a perfect teacher, would actually reach people where they are and give them information bit by bit by bit. And then as the Old Testament into New Testament progresses, as God has sufficiently changed the culture and the moral understanding of his people, revealing more and more of his perfect, unchanging character to them, then they would understand God more and more and more, so that they can accept things that are no longer milk, but instead meat. They can actually grow. As a matter of fact, the New Testament even uses that concept a lot. You've been on milk, you should be at meat at this point, right? So it even uses the concept of people growing and developing in their understanding of God. Same thing with the Old Testament. So no, I reject this notion, and it's philosophically absurd, I think, that a perfect being would just give you all information about every topic the moment that he meets you, because that's not what a perfect teacher would do. That's not even what a perfect parent would do. I'm not I don't have any kids on the spot yet that are running around, but if you did have some kids, when they were like 3, did you just explain to them the entirety of the biblical narrative? Probably not. Probably not.
Getting close.
Or right, since this guy is an atheist, did you just explain to your young children the fullness of your knowledge of physics?
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. You see, according to current expansionist theories about quantum fluctuations in space-time, and your 3-year-old is like, I'm hungry. They're hungry. That's what they're able to take. So exactly right. I think this is philosophically absurd to say a perfect being would do this, because that actually sounds like the thing an imperfect, impersonal being would do. Like an imperfect
Yes.
impersonal computer, maybe an imperfect impersonal computer would spit out tons of info at like a 2-year-old, right? But a perfect being that's relational would actually meet you where you are and then slowly teach you and your whole nation more and more about your character, about his character, this perfect being, so that you can slowly understand him better and start to realize this was given to us because of our hardness of heart. But now that we're slowly understanding God more and more, we know that this isn't the ideal. There is a greater ideal, a greater moral standard that is closer to the heart of God.